Romans 8:11 commentary. Romans 8:1. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Paul begins with a triumphant declaration that flows directly from everything he has written about the finished work of Christ. Those who are in Christ are not merely awaiting freedom from condemnation, they already possess it. The verdict has been rendered once and for all. God does not alternate between acceptance and rejection based on human performance. Because believers are united with Christ, they stand forever justified before him. This freedom from condemnation is rooted entirely in what Christ accomplished, not in the believer's ability to maintain righteousness through personal effort. Romans 8:2. For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus hath made me free from the law of sin and death. Paul contrasts two governing principles. The old covenant law exposed sin and pronounced death upon the sinner, but the Spirit brings life through Christ. The believer's been transferred from one realm to another. This freedom is not gradual emancipation, but a completed deliverance. Christ has broken the authority of the old covenant system that continually testified against humanity because of sin. Romans 8:3. For what the law could not do, in that it was weak through the flesh. The weakness was never in God's law, but in fallen humanity. The law could reveal righteousness, but could never produce it. God accomplished what the law never could by sending his Son in the likeness of sinful flesh. Jesus became the perfect sacrifice, condemning sin itself through his death. Rather than condemning believers, God condemned sin in Christ. The cross accomplished everything necessary for reconciliation with God. Romans 8:4. That the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us. The righteous requirement of the law has been fulfilled through Christ. Believers are not striving to complete what Jesus began. They live from the reality that his obedience has been credited to them. Walking according to the Spirit describes living in the new covenant reality established by Christ, rather than returning to confidence in human effort or the regulations of the old covenant. Romans 8:5. For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh. In this context, flesh refers not merely to sinful behavior, but to dependence upon natural human ability and confidence in the old covenant system. Those who remain focused on the flesh continue to pursue righteousness through external means. Those who belong to the Spirit set their minds on what God has accomplished through Christ. Their confidence rests in God's provision rather than human achievement. Romans 8:6. For to be carnally minded is death, but to be spiritually minded is life and peace. Life under the old covenant brought continual reminders of guilt and separation because sacrifices could never permanently remove sin. The mind centered upon Christ's finished work experiences life and peace because reconciliation has already been secured. Peace with God is no longer something to pursue, but something believers possess. Romans 8:7-8. Because the carnal mind is enmity against God, human effort cannot produce righteousness acceptable to God. The flesh refuses to submit to God's provision because it continually seeks acceptance through personal merit. Those who remain under that mindset cannot please God because true righteousness comes only through faith in Christ. Romans 8:9. But ye are not in the flesh, but in the Spirit. Paul reminds his readers of their identity rather than commanding them to attain a new position. They already belong to the Spirit because the Spirit dwells within them. Every believer possesses the Spirit of Christ. His presence is the defining characteristic of the new covenant people of God. Romans 8:10. And if Christ be in you, the body is dead because of sin, but the Spirit is life because of righteousness. Though physical mortality remains a present reality, believers possess spiritual life because they have received Christ's righteousness. Their standing before God depends entirely upon his righteousness, not their own. The life of Christ within them is the guarantee of their fellowship with God. Romans 8:11. But if the Spirit of him that raised up Jesus from the dead dwell in you, the same power that raised Jesus now dwells in every believer. This life is not merely a future hope, but a present reality. Paul assures his readers that God's work of redemption is complete and effective. The Spirit continually testifies that believers belong to Christ and share in his life. For Paul's original audience, these promises also pointed toward the approaching conclusion of the Old Covenant age, when the former order centered on the temple, sacrifices, and ceremonial law would finally pass away. The arrival of that covenantal transition publicly confirmed that Christ's kingdom had been established and that the new covenant had fully taken its place. Summary: Romans 8 to 11 celebrates the believer's complete freedom from condemnation through Jesus Christ. The law exposed sin, but could never remove it. Christ accomplished what the law could not by condemning sin through his sacrifice and establishing a new covenant based entirely on his righteousness. Believers now live in the realm of the Spirit, possessing peace with God, complete acceptance, and the indwelling presence of Christ. Paul's words proclaim the certainty of redemption and the enduring reality of life in the new covenant established through the finished work of Jesus Christ.